I have with me our TV remote. Remote. That's a word you're hearing a lot these days. It means distant or to control from far away. So remote control, remote learning, everything seems to be remote or virtual these days. Sometimes we're tempted to feel that Jesus is remote from us, that he's far away, and that we're left here to solve our own problems. But let me be clear, Jesus is not remote. He is not virtual. He is not far away. Jesus is real, he is present, and he is here. Let me tell you one reason I know this. In John chapter 20, beginning at verse 19, on the evening of Easter, the disciples are hiding in that upper room. They're hiding in worry and doubt and confusion about how Jesus' body could have disappeared and where they might find him. And in that moment, Jesus showed up. Not virtually or like a Zoom meeting where they could see and hear him, but he wasn't really there. No, Jesus didn't zoom into the room. He poofed. He just showed up. Listen to this passage from John chapter 20, beginning at verse 19. On the evening of that first day, Easter day, when the disciples were together with the doors locked in fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood among them, and he said, "Peace be with you." After this, he said, he showed them his hands and his side, and the disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord standing before them. The disciples were in that room together. They were confused, worried, and doubting. The doors were locked for fears of the Jews. No one opened a window. No one opened a door. 1 minute he's not there, and poof, the next Jesus is there standing, very real, very present in front of them all. And Jesus' words here, his first words with them, are very important. Peace be with you. Jesus is close. He's standing physically real in front of them. They can see his pierced hands and his side. And there he was saying peace. He came back to bring the peace that we needed. Our sin, which is also very real, makes us enemies to God. Jesus' death and resurrection is proof of his victory over our sin and proof that we now have peace with God, a peace that surpasses all understanding. I love that the Apostle John recorded this important moment where Jesus proves that he's alive, he's real, and he's here. Jesus could poof himself into that room with the disciples because guess what? He was already there even when they didn't see him. He just showed himself because sometimes we as humans need that extra proof that God is who he really says he is and that he can do what he says he'll promise to do. So like the disciples, my response to this story is joy. I don't need to feel alone. I don't need to feel worried that my sins are too big or too frequent. Jesus is enough, and Jesus is with me always. You can trust Jesus. You can trust his promises. One last promise that Jesus made to you and to me is found in Matthew 28, verse 20. Jesus says these words of encouragement, "Surely I am with you always to the very end of the age." Jesus is not remote. He's not far away. He's not virtual. Jesus is right here. He's with you and he's with me, and he loves you, and he comes to bring you peace. God's blessings, Emmanuel St. Michael.